and we are going live. All right, it looks like we are live now. Hello, everybody. If you can hear me and see us, please type llama in the chat or let us know where you're signing in from today. Just wait for a couple of llamas letting us know that they're here. Can anybody hear us? Oh, we have llamas from Maryland. Awesome. All right, we'll just wait a couple more moments. We've got more llamas. Excellent. All right. Columbus, Ohio, New Mexico, Michigan. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We can go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. My name is Kitty, and I will be your host for today's live demo. We are here with Cher Mendoza, and she's going to be teaching us some of her wonderful techniques for watercolor. And just a reminder that this demo is not a step-by-step tutorial. We do have a step-by-step tutorial, which we'll be discussing later for the mini workshop. But today is an opportunity for Cher to showcase her process. However, you are more than welcome to follow along if you wish. And I'm going to put the link to the reference photo into the chat right now. And I will go ahead and hand this over to Cher, who will tell us what we're going to be doing today. Cher, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Cher Mendoza, and the lovely people from Etchr have been kind enough to let me share what I've learned all through the years with me playing with watercolor. And for my demo today, I'll be showing you how to paint reflective surfaces with watercolor, most especially metallic surfaces. I call them my shiny objects project. Before we start, let me tell you something about myself. I think it's lunchtime from where, is it lunch?
Just about, yeah,
Most of,
noon here.
yeah, it's midnight for where I am. I'm from the Philippines, so if some of my friends are here, can you give a shout out for staying up late with me and for being my cheer group during my live demo? Okay, for those who are having lunch, good news because my demo will be the tools that you'll be using for your food. But here, a little something about myself. Oh no, my stuff fell. Um, I'm an interior designer by profession, but it's not an extent. In school, we did not study extensively about art. We only learned the fundamentals of drawing, but it's where I developed the love for it. So even if I was practicing it in my profession, since we've all shifted digitally now, I only rediscovered my love for art when I first started doing calligraphy. It was my first venture with experimenting with Instagram. So here, an example of my pointed pen calligraphy before. I haven't been doing it much now, so I really miss it. Here's another example.
Oh,
Then there, I used India ink for these rigs. Then I ventured into lettering. So these are some of my samples for lettering. I used watercolor for this. So this was my transition art for going full time with watercolor. So my lettering are like this. I just mostly chose quotes from Pinterest or the internet that I think were were proper for the mood that I'm feeling at that time. So when I ventured into watercolor, let me show you my other Etchr sketchbook. So I started doing mostly florals, your botanical art, florals. Then I started to shift to different subjects. So I painted animals once again, then ventured into another new medium, which is gouache. So I also experimented with different food art, and these are some of the illustrations that I also did. But
Yes.
eventually I came back to watercolor. So I decided to challenge myself a bit more. So now I painted more complex subjects. I started painting people, and
And Cher, we have some comments in the chat saying, wow, your calligraphy is fantastic. It's
oh,
beautiful, very nice. Somebody seems to really like your gouache work. Oh, that one's really cool. I like that.
then this was from a workshop that I participated in. It was the first time I painted a portrait, I think. And then this one is from a movie. I was practicing. Then, since I was challenging myself already, so I said I wanted to do something that I haven't done before. So I did this piece.
Oh, cool.
It's gouache on black paper. So it's what started me on my shiny objects
Hmm.
pieces. And this one's gouache also. So when I painted with gouache, it was easy to achieve the shiny effects because I was using white and then augmenting it with different colors to enhance the painting. But then I asked myself, what if I painted it with watercolor? Um, I really don't like using frisket or masking fluid, so I tried to avoid that. So then I came up with this one. I remember it was afternoon that I painted this piece. I was watching TV, I think. It was raining. Then I was just doodling, and then I was experimenting with how I could achieve a metallic tone without using any metal paints. So this is what I came up with. And then I started to practice again. And this is the inspiration for the demo piece that I'll be making today. I've already gone ahead and Kitty, so is it all right if I go ahead with the demo?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I went ahead and did a sketch. It's actually two. Um, my reference paintings were, it's actually this one. This is the one that Kitty showed you. But I also wanted to show you this. Although if you notice, I did not follow them per se. I didn't copy form by form. I just wanted the main look of how it is laid down. And then I really like this vintage look and art embellishments. So I wanted to incorporate that. So I tried to put that in my sketches here. Then I tried to experiment with different types of the cutlery. There's um, I forgot the name of this knife. This is the dinner fork, the dinner fork, the dinner spoon, then the salad spoon, then dessert spoon. Then laid it out differently so that there's interest in the painting. Okay, I'll go ahead. I'm using the Etchr sketchbook, by the way, and Etchr paints. here. The brushes that I'll be using are, I'm using Mimik brushes, number 8 and number 4, all round. And a silver brush, number 2, and a sterling silver brush, number 0. I'm not using very large brushes because it's not a big piece.
And
And
by the way, I'm sorry, Cher. By the way, everybody, if you have questions for Cher, please put them in the chat in all capital letters so that I can see them more easily. If the questions are relevant to what Cher is doing at the moment, I will ask her at that time. If not, I'm going to hold them back until the end when we do our question and answer session. Okay, go ahead, Cher. I'm sorry about that.
it's okay. I'm using a cheap brush to wet my palette, but I think it's dirty because there's something blue in it. It's okay. So you can also use eyedropper, medicine dropper to put the water on the palette. I like mixing my paints beforehand so that I won't get disturbed when I'm playing, making my composition. So I used red pencil for this one, for the left side, and then blue for the other side. It's mainly because I plan to make this a somewhat vintage gold um, look. Then this one's silver plated, if you will, cutlery, something like that. Then one thing is I don't typically sketch this boldly. My usually you won't be able to see my my pencil lines, but for the sake of the demo, it's fairly dark. So it's not an effect I usually go for, but sometimes some people like the outline outline look for their paintings. For my first, I'm gonna mix a bit of yellow ochre and a little lemon yellow. It's gonna be my lightest color for the cutlery on the left side. And then for the right side, I'm gonna use a bit of ultramarine and Prussian blue. So before you paint on your, I don't know if you can see my little scrap of paper.
Cher, we have a question. Did you just add water to your empty palette?
Yes. Yes. So test your paint first before dipping onto the paper. Yeah, I added a little bit earlier. So I'm not entirely happy with my yellow here. I'm gonna add a little bit more of the yellow ochre. If some of you are painting along, it's gonna be great. Okay, it's a little too bright for it's okay. Okay, then let's do a thin wash. So you can see I've already identified the parts that I want to isolate as my highlights. So I'll try my best to avoid it, but it's okay if I don't do it perfectly because I'll be layering over them anyway.
Cher, we have a question in the chat saying, I see that she drew in red and blue pencil. Why those colors?
Um, it's a personal preference, not really something technical, because I don't like the look of graphite on my pieces, on my art pieces. So it's just really me. You can use regular pencil if you like. I just like the added touch of the red and blue colors.
Are they watercolor pencils or are they just regular color pencils?
Regular. They're not even colored pencils. They're colored leads.
Mm, the kind that you
So
put into mechanical pencil?
yes,
Oh,
I
okay.
was able to buy one from. I visited the US a couple of years ago, and I was able to buy colored leads. I was so
Mm.
happy because I've been wanting to try them for the longest time. I used to use colored pencils, but the thing is, some colored pencils have wax in them, so
Mm.
when you use them it repels the watercolor. And if I use the watercolor pencils, they disappear. My lines disappear. So I know this is a fairly bright wash, but remember, watercolor desaturates a bit when it dries. So when you're mixing your colors, keep in mind that although it lays down bright, when it dries up, it tends to dull up. Unless it's I think the Gansai Tambi ones, those are the ones that stay true to their color. Although that one I just read. I have them, but I haven't used them extensively, so I haven't really attested to that statement.
I have
I'm
to
gonna,
agree with you on that one.
huh?
I have to agree with you on that one. The pigments in Gansai Tambi are larger. They're not as fine, so they float on the surface more.
So they don't get dull when they dry.
Hmm. They change just a teeny, teeny bit, but nothing that's noticeable.
Sometimes I get frustrated when I was a beginner. I get really frustrated because when the paint is wet, it's very bright. I love painting vividly. Then when it's dry, oh no, what happened? Where did my color go? Sometimes it's also about the paper. Sometimes the paper eats up a lot of the pigment. You have to be you have to be adventurous and try a lot.
By the way, if the paper you're using now, is that hot press or cold press?
This is cold press. So if you can see, I am leaving some parts white. I'm using an artist glove as well because my hands are sweaty. Sometimes sweaty, sometimes not. So just be careful. I also don't like, sometimes the oil from your hand transfers to the paper. So it repels the paint again. And happened to me a couple of times. So I bought myself an artist glove. Decided to use it. Okay, almost done with the first wash. Kitty, I remember my story. Can I
Okay.
tell? Um, so did it ever happen to you, any of you, that you mistakenly put your brush in the your drinking water, drinking coffee or tea?
All the time.
It hasn't happened to me yet, but I was teaching a calligraphy class before. Then one of my students came up to me and said, I drank some of the water that I was putting in. And we were using Sumi ink, so oh no,
Were
Sumi
her
ink.
teeth black?
I didn't know what to do. You feeling nauseous? And why did you drink the black water? He said he forgot. He thought it was Coke. Okay. But thankfully nothing happened to him. So that's good.
For the record, most true Sumi ink is not toxic.
Okay, okay.
I found that out when I wanted to use my practice paper from Sumie and Shodo in the garden as mulch. And it turns out that ink is not toxic.
Oh, so that's why nothing happened to him.
Right. He just probably had a black tongue and black teeth.
Yeah. I panicked a bit there because he was a teenager,
Aww.
13 years old, I think. So I thought he was going to tell his mom on me. I was afraid.
And Cher, what color are you mixing up right now?
I'm mixing yellow and purple and yellow. So I want to get little shadow violet. I'm
And
trying to dull.
is that still the yellow ochre? And what kind of violet are you using?
It's royal purple and lemon yellow. You see, I have the Etchr swatch book posted on my corkboard. It's my cheat sheet, so that I'll know the names, and then I'll mix the other. The shadow violet is for the darker parts of my piece, and then I'll mix something blue. That's not the kind of blue that I want. A cooler gray tone for the other piece.
And by the way, April says, was that my son?
No, no, it's not. Not your son. April's my best friend. Hello. It's not her son. He won't tell on me if that's your son. So I think I've gotten my shadows here.
And the
You can
gray that you just mixed with the blue, can you remind us again what those colors were that you mixed for that?
This is ultramarine and simply red, but it looks red orange. It's just called simply red.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and put my shadows. Okay, I'll start with touch it. Okay, it's dry. I came prepared. I thought I was going to use my heat gun for today, but I don't think I would need it. It's a warm night here, but I have the AC on. So don't worry if like you don't get much definition yet from the shadows because it's just the first layer anyway. I just want to put it where I think the shadow parts will be. My light source is coming from here, but since this is a reflective surface, so the light is bouncing everywhere. And this is where your imagination will kick in because you will do a lot of um, what do you call this? Assuming where the light will bounce. So it's up to your artistic intuition where to put the shadows. For me, it will be I want to put it where I want to create depth. So just a bit here. See how effective the artist glove is because I'm putting my hand over here.
Uh-huh. And am I seeing correctly? It looks like as you're glazing the shadow color on top of it, it's mixing a little bit with the warm ochre color underneath.
Yes. So it's getting kind of a vintage feel.
Yeah.
So back when I was studying interior design, we were taught how to identify the ornaments used in things, but I've forgotten them all now. So don't know the proper terms anymore. I think it's a medallion and the curly cue. I forgot already. There were so many terms that we had to study.
So I'm always curious to know if anybody who's watching is painting along. So if you're painting along, let us know in the chat. Let us know how it's going for you.
Yeah, so don't worry about making it very precise. Some people are like that. They get obsessed with the tiny details, like if the color, if the paint goes out of the line. But for me, don't. Just have fun. Just have fun with it. You'll see because water is your friend, so it goes where it wants to go. You just need to lead it where you want it to be. So sometimes like this, you have to lift the color so that the edges are not too harsh. I'm not over an hour yet, am I?
Actually, we are coming up on the half-hour mark.
We are.
Yeah, yep. So in a moment, it might be a good thing to start talking about your mini workshop, which is a step-by-step class where you'll have 90 minutes to paint along with Cher. And it'll be a lot more in depth, a little bit more intimate so that we can ask more questions. And Cher, why don't you let us know a little bit about what you'll be covering in the class?
Yeah. For my mini workshop, I'll be teaching you how to paint crystal and glass, plus a little bit mix of metal. So that's why my reference photo comes from a chandelier. It's actually the chandelier we have at home. It's at my mom's house. I just, on a whim, I took a photo and told myself I'm going to paint that someday. So there it is. Since it's a combination of all the shiny objects that are quite challenging sometimes for beginners,
Yeah,
um, I'm going to be simplifying the method so that you won't be afraid to paint glass because the facets of a crystal is sometimes intimidating. So I'll break it down for you. Then I'll also teach you how to look at the a reference photo in a different way so that you'll be able to pick out the what details to put in your painting. Sometimes it gets too busy, so you get overwhelmed, but I'll teach you how to make it simple, but still with a focal point.
excellent.
Okay, so while I'm waiting for this to dry, I'll paint the other side. Do you paint food?
I do a little bit.
Sometimes when I paint food, I get hungry. Does anyone have that problem?
Sometimes I usually do a lot of my artwork like really late at night, around midnight,
I
and
don't
I
eat food.
can't go out to get any desserts or anything like that. So sometimes I'm painting desserts and then I regret it because I want them so badly.
Yeah, I get that also. Sometimes someone will request, hey, paint a donut for me. Oh, where will I get the donut in midnight? I also paint whenever I have a tough week. So it's an escape for me to be able to paint because when you're painting, you're just alone with your thoughts, or I don't know. Some of you might be listening to music or watching something in the background. Sometimes I do that also, but most of the time I just paint in a quiet room. And then I'm alone with my thoughts, thinking about my life. I wonder if all of you are the same way as well.
I am like that too. I find there's so much noise in my life that having moments of silence is just wonderful.
Yes, especially now, right? You
Hmm.
have something to calm you down. Get so busy outside. So I've been asked before, why do you paint? And I found myself thinking hard, why do I paint? Then I thought back. I paint because I want to make people happy. It's not because I want to get Instagram likes, not like that. Because when I paint, like for example, flowers, I know that my mom will see it, so I know she'll be happy because she loves flowers. It's like that. Something make me cry. And also, I think about my dad because I lost my dad 7 years ago. So, and he loved to see me paint before.
Aw.
Really thinking of him as a. So I hope he's proud of me, and I hope he's proud of me to see how much I've improved throughout the years. So, by the way, I learn a lot from other artists and peers who love watercolor as much as I do. I'm a member of a local watercolor guild here, and it's them who encourage me to join competitions and try more difficult subjects. So it's good also that you connect with other people who share the same interest as you.
It's nice to have a support group too.
Yeah, they will help a lot.
And
Sorry,
actually, speaking
my
of which, we actually have a lovely Facebook group. Um, it is a wonderful place to share work that you've done. And should you want some feedback, it's always kind. I've never seen anybody be unkind in this group. And it's if you look at your work and you're like, oh, there's something I just can't figure out, something's not right with this, it's a great place to ask those kinds of questions, or also just to say, look what I did. It's wonderful to be proud of what you've done.
yeah.
So just put that link in the chat for you. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to put in our tags for Instagram so that if you are painting along, you can share your work and tag us so that we can see it. And I'm sure that Cher would like to see it too.
Yeah, so that I can also comment. I'm mixing my shadows again. This will be my second layer. I think it's dry now. It's a little bit more violet now than before. If it's showing the right color on my phone. Is it?
Yeah, it looks good.
I have a boo-boo on my finger. I get clumsy sometimes, so it was actually worried. Oh no, they're gonna see my finger.
Hey, those are real artists' hands.
Plus, I don't manicure my nails. Because in my profession, I touch construction site. It always gets dirty and chipped up, so I gave up. Okay, it's becoming more violet now than I want. So when you're mixing colors, pay attention to the tones. Remember your color wheel so that you get the mixing right. Because if you're using paint that's a mixture of different pigments, sometimes the more you mix, the more muddy it gets. So it depends on the pigments used in the paint. Like right now, I'm getting too much of a red. I'm trying to tone it down to, okay, all right. Okay, so for my second layer, I'm gonna use my other finer brushes later on. For now, I'm sticking, sometimes it's just one brush all throughout. If that's your thing. If you can control the fine point of your brush, that's fine. And just use one brush all the way. So sometimes I mix a bit more water to thin out the paint for the parts that I don't want too harsh of a shadow. Now I'm noticing the difference when you're painting in daylight and painting with white light. It's a bit harder to paint in white light. Okay. How is everyone doing? Are they still there? Still
Yeah,
need
actually, somebody is making the suggestion that you should draw a smiley face on your bandage.
oh, I had the kitty, Hello Kitty band-aid, but
Oh,
but I thought it might be too distracting. So I opted for the flesh one.
you know, you might be right there. I probably would have been staring at that the whole time.
Yeah, so actually that's my personality. I like the funky stuff. Like for example, the bandage. I won't choose this one. I would opt for the brightly colored ones. I've always been like that. Well, my best friend will tell you that. April's so used to me being like that. By the way, Etchr paints are premium student grade. So they're a little bit in between artist grade and student grade. So the problem with student grade is comes out chalky. But since this is in between, so it's nothing like that. It's really good.
Thank you. I'm
I
glad you.
also like to use the both sides of my sketchbook. I don't want to waste any paper.
That's one
Some
really nice thing about the paper that we have in our sketchbooks. They're 100% cotton, and
mhm.
they're thick enough that you can use both sides without it bleeding through or without it showing through.
Yes, because I have paintings underneath and they're fine. Plus, it's good paper. So there's a different texture here and different texture here. So you get to experience the advantage of painting something with smoother paper and something rough with texture. I've always had a fascination with fancy cutlery. I don't know why. Always been like that. Like when I visit a restaurant and they have fancy cutlery, plus points for me. Because I like the embellishments. I love them.
I love when mundane objects are artwork in of themselves.
Yeah, plus when you're doing art, you have the freedom to design your own. That's basically what I do for a living also. So when I'm doing interiors, it's really nice to just have the creative freedom to design for someone's home.
And there's a comment in the chat saying that they are seeing the vintage look come out more and more.
Yes, when you're layering the paint, sometimes it's that's why I love doing the shiny objects because you start out having uncertainty like where can I put the shadows more so that it can shine more. Then when it's done, you get surprised. Oh, I did this. So that was my initial reaction when I did my first shiny objects painting, especially the wine glass. I was so surprised by that. Sometimes you don't know where it goes. Then you tune out, then get in the zone, and then whoa, there you go. Right? Since this one's more silver, um, I'm treating it with cooler tones. That's why there's a lot of blues, a bit of blue violet, and then the gray is also in the bluish tone. So after I paint the shadows, it's now up to me if I want to define the details more or if I just want to leave it as it is. Sometimes you also know you have to know when to stop. Sometimes you get carried away detailing the painting.
That's always the hard part, isn't it? Knowing when to stop.
Yeah, so it comes out too overworked, or sometimes you model the paper. Uh, knowing when to stop takes practice and intuition also.
Well, I think I will take this opportunity to mention something that we are offering, and that is some of Cher's artwork. We have digital prints available. I'm going to drop that link into the chat right now. Just one moment.
It's okay, I'm painting shadows here. I do miss, we call them art dates here. Do you have art dates there as well?
What's that?
Art dates.
Art dates?
Yeah, it's a date with art buddies.
Oh, oh, yeah.
Miss going on art dates. Like we will just go to a coffee shop, lay our art materials on a big table, and then paint away. We can't do that now.
So the digital prints, you'll receive 9 different files. There are 3 different prints. You'll get 3 different files for each one so that you can use it for your phone desktop, for your regular computer background, or print it out to a very nice size. And so I put that link into the chat. I'm going to click on it just to make sure that it's working properly. Yes, it is. So if you click on that link, you'll be able to see the 3 botanical prints that she has up.
For my mini workshop, I'm also going to teach you how to glaze and lift, because those are some of the more advanced techniques that you can use for different compositions and subjects of your paintings to make a whole difference. We're almost done. See what I told you about watercolor drying up a little duller? It
Yeah.
was overly bright earlier, right? Now it's a little more desaturated. So that's what some of my workshop students before commented. Like they were getting frustrated because they really wanted the solid, vibrant paint look for their painting. But the thing is, watercolor is supposed to be transparent. So if they're looking for something opaque, it's really gouache that they were, the look of the gouache paint that they were after. So it's important also to use different mediums so that you know which medium you prefer the most to work with.
Cher, we have about 15 minutes left.
Yeah, I'm almost done.
Awesome.
Almost. I'm just adding a few line details to define my design a little bit more.
And you're using your little brush now, your tiny brush?
Yeah, it's number 2. Some brushes are, I think some of them are not standard. Some number 2s are still quite large, but I find this brush just the right size. There's also 000 brush that I hardly use anymore because I get frustrated. It's too tiny. So I'm just defining the design of the spoon, even the contour here. So remember, when you're after painting, you clean your brushes. Don't forget. Sometimes some artists forget to do that and just put it somewhere. Tend to have paint still on the brush.
And everybody, we would love to know what your experience was like today during the live demo. So I'm going to drop the link into the chat for our feedback survey. Any comments that you would like to share, anything that you would like to let us know, please place it into the form, and all of your answers are anonymous. And yeah, we would really like to know what you think so we can continue to bring you content that you enjoy watching. And Cher, we already got some feedback because somebody said earlier that we made a great team.
Yeah. Okay. You know, I really drank coffee for tonight, so I might be up until 4 a.m. today. And it wasn't instant coffee or anything, it's brewed coffee. Because I had a full day, so I thought, oh no, I might get sleepy. Okay, Kitty might be asking a question and I will not be answering. There's just a few embellishments now. So this part of the painting, if you're the one doing it, so it's entirely up to you now how much detail you want it or how loose you want it to be. If it's me, it's just one more definition, then it's done.
Cher, I have a question about the actual paint mixture that you're using right now. Um, are you using the same mix that you had before, or did you make it thicker?
It's the same.
Okay.
You just refill the water. I refill the water, then mix a bit more paint. And
Okay.
I think it's because of the aircon as well. It's drying up some of the paint.
Oh, I see.
The piece of cheap watercolor paper is very important for you to test out the paint. Sometimes, if you've noticed, I don't know if you can see it, um, even if you've already mixed your color, the pigments sometimes separate.
Hmm.
So you put it on your paper and you didn't swirl the paint beforehand, you'll get a different tone from the one originally mixed. So it's important to have that piece of paper to test it out first.
I find that true with certain pigments that when you mix them, they look way, way darker than when you put them on the page, and then you see that it's a different tone as well.
Yeah, sometimes it's like that. I'm not technical enough to know the proper name of the pigments like PB and then
Right.
I can't remember most of them. Some people do, but I don't.
I
I'm
just
almost
learned the hard way. I'm like, oh, I know that this color does this because I learned the hard way.
yeah, like me. I'm like that. Some people do. Do you remember the pigment? I'm like always amazed how much they remember. And they can also identify it just by looking. So I think that's years and years of watercolor painting, which I still am also learning. Okay, Kitty, time check.
We have 7 minutes left.
So I was too ambitious. I did two. Yeah, during I was doing my time lapse and I said, "Oh, I can do easily 2 pieces." I got cocky.
Now, I think this has been great because this is a subject matter that I find intimidating. And it's really helpful for me to see somebody do this and make it look so accessible.
I used to be like that too, but you have to be experimental and courageous enough to just try even if it's hard. I've also had gone through several phases where I get art blocks and I get frustrated. Oh no, how come I can't do it anymore? Just like any other artist does, right?
Yep.
Sometimes, as you can see, the end of my brush is spraying, but it's okay. Let's not get frustrated about it. I also don't make it a point just to use like expensive stuff. No, I use all kinds of materials that are. I try them out. I try them out all, and then choose which ones I like. I think even my favorite brush is the synthetic one.
I actually like synthetic brushes too because I don't have to be so careful with them.
Yes. Plus, you know the thing when you buy something expensive, then you don't use them a lot because they're expensive.
Right.
It ends up getting not used at all. But I'm guilty of that also.
Me too. Me too.
The sad thing is like it has happened to me a bit. Like I keep the expensive stuff and then when I use it, it's broken. Not the brush because the natural hair brushes last a long time, but sometimes for other stuff it's like that. So better to use them than have them stored away. Almost done, almost done. And also there's this other thing. Um I don't know if this is true, but other artists prefer to sign their work using the same medium that they used for like for the painting. So for oil, they sign their name in oil. But the thing is, sometimes I've done a piece and then signed it with marker. I didn't know it was a thing. Then when I joined the art group, they said it's supposed to be like that. So I was surprised as well. I didn't know it's a thing. Okay, now I'm done.
That
All
looks
right.
amazing. I'm actually really impressed too that this came together so quickly and there's so much detail.
Thank you. And then
There's,
me,
there's a comment in the chat saying, for me, I buy an expensive brush and then can't remember which one it was when it gets in with all my other brushes.
me too. I
I
keep
can
them
see
in
that
one.
happen.
I keep them in those cheap plastic tubes for brushes. I don't even have the cloth brush thing that you put expensive brushes in. I don't have that. Let me just sign my name. Oh, there's a frayed hair. Don't you just hate that?
And while we're wrapping up, everybody, if you have any last minute questions for Cher, please put them in the chat now.
I signed it August 15 because it's August 15 here.
Right.
All right. I hope everybody learned something or got inspired to do something today.
It looks absolutely fabulous. And again, if you did paint along today, please do tag us so that we can see it and Cher can comment on it. And we have some comments in here saying that this was so much fun and that it was a great demo. And if there are no more questions, I will go ahead and wrap up. Cher, thank you so much for being so generous with your techniques today. Actually, let me bring you back up on screen.
Thank you,
So
everyone.
everyone can see your lovely face.
Yeah, my sleepy face.
I know, with all that coffee.
Yeah, I'm gonna be bugging my husband. Gonna tell him how excited I am today.
Well, thank you so much for sharing everything with us. This was absolutely wonderful. I actually learned a lot. I hope everybody else did too. And for everybody watching, please do share this link for today's demo with your artist friends so they can see Cher at work too. And we do these free live demos just about every day. So please do subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can stay up to date and be alerted when we go live. Our next live demo is actually tomorrow, August 15th at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Daylight Time with Helio Boto, who will be showing us how to do watercolors using perspective with light and depth. And again, I'm going to put in our feedback link. If you would be so kind to share what you thought of our demo today. And one more time, the mini workshop, which I personally am very excited about. There we go. And one last thing, because I know some people have been waiting for this, our Etchr fountain pens have actually gone live. They are now available on the website. If you go to the website, you will find it under the listing for our graphic pens, but I'm going to go ahead and put the direct link into the chat right now. And I fibbed. I have one more thing to tell you guys. We are now doing something where if you sign up for our mailing list and you've never taken one of our mini workshops before, if you sign up for the mailing list, you will get a voucher to take your very first mini workshop for free. So the mini workshops, once again, are 90 minutes, and it's a more in-depth version of the live demo. So it builds upon what you've learned in the live demo. So again, thank you very much, Cher. Thank you, everybody, for spending your time with us today. And until we see you next time, make more art. Bye, everybody.